Do you remember that feeling? When the opening theme played on old television, an entire world instantly came alive, a place where everything felt simpler, warmer. And a leather-jacketed young man became the icon everyone dreamed of being. Happy Days wasn't just a sitcom. It was memory. It was childhood. It was a piece of culture that millions of people once lived inside. But there's something most people never realized. Behind the smiles, the sock hop dances, and the familiar catchphrases was a completely different world, one where actors quietly faced pressure characters, vanished without explanation, and strange elements appeared that felt like they didn't belong in the show at all. From Ron Howard trying to avoid military service to bizarre ideas like time travel and even not a talking dog. In today's video, we're going back in time to uncover 20 fascinating and surprising facts about Happy Days. 1. The historic trick Ron Howard joined Happy Days just to avoid military service. You once loved Ron Howard in the role of Richie Cunningham, the gentle, proper young man of Happy Days. But the truth behind this role is not at all happy like the name of the sitcom. From the beginning, Howard aimed for a directing career and studied at USC. Acting for him was only a temporary way to earn money to pay tuition. However, at that time, the Vietnam War put him in a position with a very high risk of being drafted. A choice that seemed normal became an unexpected way out. Happy Days appeared at the right time, helping him have a stable income, and at the same time become an important factor of the whole team. The element that helped him avoid the obligation. No one expected that stopgap role to last beyond expectation when the show suddenly exploded into a phenomenon. During the time, Howard quietly learned filmmaking techniques right on the set, preparing for his later directing path. And just when everything seemed to have stabilized, a change behind the scenes began to be considered. 2. The ABC shock. Happy Days was almost removed to make way for Fonzie. Fonzie's appeal exploded to the point that it was almost impossible to control. After just a few seasons, the leather jacket young man had taken all the spotlight with every finger snap, every half smile that made the audience go crazy. That dominance made ABC begin to think about an extreme decision, renaming the entire series to Fonzie's Happy Days, turning Fonzie into the absolute center of the brand. But this idea immediately ignited strong reactions. Gary Marshall, the creator of the show, firmly opposed, saying that it would break the original soul of the series. Ron Howard also did not stay out, even declaring that he would leave the show if the name Happy Days was removed. Under pressure from both internal and creative sides, ABC had to withdraw the plan. But in reality, from the middle of the series onward, the spotlight of Happy Days had almost belonged to Fonzie. And it was also when the name of the sitcom began to no longer be enough alone to hold the spotlight that a series of spin-offs began to appear. 3. Happy Days and the storm of imitation that could not be controlled. The appeal of Happy Days did not stop at a hit sitcom. It became a production machine of spin-offs of the entire American television. From that universe, a series of famous shows were born, such as Laverne and Shirley Mork, and Mindy and Joni Loves Chachi, each name strong enough to stand alone and bring in a huge audience. Not stopping there, supporting characters briefly appearing in Happy Days were also unexpectedly spin-offized into their own shows, such as Out of the Blue or Blansky's Beauties. But not all were smooth. Out of the Blue once caused confusion in the connection flow when it aired even before the main character appeared in the original episode, making the timeline become hard to understand and completely out of sync. The spreading effect also pulled the animation world into it. The audience witnessed versions such as the Fonz and the Happy Days gang, Laverne and Shirley in the Army, or the animated version of Mork and Mindy, all taking advantage of the timeline from the original series to expand the Happy Days universe. Even there was once a plan for a separate spin-off for Leather Tuscadero played by Susie Quattro, but this project was eventually abandoned when the artist herself refused to participate. And behind that spin-off empire that seemed to have no stopping point, there were still facts that few people knew. 4. Fonzie's legendary love interest vanished after a few episodes for an unexpected reason. I don't know if you're like me, but when watching Happy Days, I was really impressed with Pinky Tuscadero. She was introduced as Fonzie's true love, embodying a rebellious, strong, and energetic image. She quickly caught viewers' attention, and everyone thought she'd be a long-term character. But just a few episodes later, Pinky vanished completely, and the reason lies behind the scenes. Roz Kelly, the actress who played Pinky, had a tough background, accustomed to a gritty showbiz environment, while the Happy Days cast, especially Henry Winkler, came from gentler, more refined backgrounds. The difference in personality and lifestyle made it hard for her to fit in. Some accounts say Roz had heated arguments with colleagues on set, even clashing loudly with the crew over her refusal to follow the tight shooting schedule. The conflicts grew from behavior to work attitude, becoming irreconcilable. The set atmosphere became so tense that producers had to decide write Pinky out of the script as soon as possible. A character heavily promoted as Fonzie's partner ultimately disappeared without a trace. And from there, Henry Winkler, at the center of the storm, faced a seemingly impossible challenge during casting. 5. Henry Winkler couldn't read the script during his audition. When you think of Fonzie, you picture an iconic, cool guy, leather jacket, motorcycle, and a finger snap that electrified the room. But at his audition, Henry Winkler faced a massive obstacle no one expected. At 31, he discovered he had dyslexia, making reading a real struggle. And when he held Fonzie's script, he couldn't fluently read 6 lines of dialogue. In the tense casting room atmosphere, many thought Winkler would give up. But instead of apologizing, he took a bold risk. Henry ditched the script, stepping into the character with confidence gestures and charisma. He didn't recite lines, he lived as Fonzie. Cool eyes, a defiant smirk, even improvising a few moves. The room froze as if witnessing the real Fonzie step out of life. That spontaneous moment changed everything. Henry Winkler not only landed the role, but created a television icon that went down in history. And after Fonzie shone Happy Days faced a near-death experience, until an unexpected decision pulled the show back from the brink. 6. Just one small change saved Happy Days from being canceled forever. You might not expect that Happy Days, a sitcom that topped America, nearly got axed after its first 2 seasons. At the time, the show was filmed with a single camera with canned laughter added in post-production. The disjointed, forced atmosphere caused ratings to plummet, and audiences started turning away. ABC executives began considering canceling the show. In a moment of desperation, the crew made a seemingly small decision: overhaul the filming style. From season 3, Happy Days invited live audiences to the set, turning the sitcom into a vibrant stage. The moment Fonzie stepped out and snapped his fingers, the room erupted in cheers. This live interaction energized the cast, making every scene natural and engaging. But after that spotlight, a personal tragedy nearly broke the crew apart. 7. A real-life tragedy almost led Potsy to quit the show. Anson Williams, who played the gentle Potsy, faced the biggest shock of his life during Happy Days. He lost a very close loved one. The sudden grief left Anson devastated, unable to face the camera, and he even considered leaving the show for good. Surprisingly, the crew didn't let him face the loss alone. From the cast to the production team, everyone paused the shooting schedule, setting aside work to stand by Anson. They comforted and supported him, turning the set into a pillar of strength during his darkest days. That warmth kept Anson Williams on board, allowing Potsy to continue with audiences for many seasons. For Anson, Happy Days was no longer just a sitcom, but a true family. But have you ever thought a jacket could be deemed dangerous and nearly banned forever? 8. Fonzie's leather jacket was once considered dangerous and nearly didn't appear. Initially, ABC outright banned Fonzie from wearing a leather jacket. The reason was that it was associated with the image of street hoodlums, unfit for a family show aired in prime time. So, in the first episodes, Henry Winkler had to wear a windbreaker, creating a much tamer Fonzie than imagined. Gary Marshall. Happy Days creator devised a clever workaround. Fonzie could wear the leather jacket only when near his motorcycle, as if it were a traffic safety rule. This loophole allowed the jacket to gradually return. And as Fonzie became a cultural phenomenon, ABC had no reason to ban it anymore. From an item deemed dangerous, the leather jacket entered television history and is now proudly displayed in the Smithsonian Museum. But Fonzie's legacy wasn't just in museums, it lived in real life through a bronze statue that fiercely divided Milwaukee. 9. The bronze Fonzie statue divided an entire city. In 2008, Milwaukee, the setting of Happy Days, decided to erect the bronze Fonz statue by the Riverwalk. For fans, it was a fitting tribute to a cultural icon tied to the city. But not everyone was thrilled. Some local artists reacted strongly. They argued the Fonzie statue lowered Milwaukee's artistic value, turning the city into a joke. One gallery owner even called it a stupid Fonzie sculpture and vowed to leave Milwaukee if it was built. The debate divided. The city fans were excited. The art community was outraged. In the end, the bronze Fonz stood proudly by the river. And ironically, despite the criticism, it quickly became the city's most popular check-in spot. But not every Happy Days scandal ended in laughter. Once the entire cast took CBS to court to demand justice. 10. When the Happy Days cast collectively sued CBS. If you thought Happy Days was all laughs, you're mistaken. In 2011, the show's core cast Anson Williams, Donnie Most, Aaron Moran, Marion Ross, and Tom Bosley's wife shocked fans by collectively suing CBS/Paramount. The reason wasn't scripts or roles, but the massive profits from merchandise, especially Happy Days slot machines, which they claimed they never received a share of. The group demanded $10 million in compensation, making the lawsuit a media focal point. U.S. press dubbed it the Cunningham Family Rebellion, as it exposed a dark side contrary to the show's warm, cohesive image. But after months of litigation, the outcome disappointed everyone. Each received only about $65,000, far less than expected. And at that moment, Happy Days created a scandal that birthed a global phrase. 11. The moment that coined a globally famous phrase, jump the shark. In Season 5, the writers pushed Fonzie into an unthinkable scenario, wearing his leather jacket and shoes, water skiing, and jumping over a giant shark. The scene was elaborately staged, but upon airing, millions of viewers found it absurdly over the top. For them, Happy Days had lost its edge, clinging to attention with senseless shock tactics. From that episode, the phrase, jump the shark, was born, becoming a common term for when a show brand or career passes its peak and starts declining. Ironically, the scene so heavily criticized made Happy Days immortal in pop culture, as no other show left such a powerful linguistic mark. But not every bizarre Happy Days plot was explained by a phrase. A key Cunningham family member vanished completely as if they never existed. 12. Richie's mysterious older brother gone without explanation. The Cunningham family in Happy Days was portrayed as the ideal American family model parents, lovable Richie and Joni. But in the first 2 seasons, they had an eldest son named Chuck Cunningham. He appeared in a few episodes playing Richie's older brother, often holding a basketball. But after Season 2, Chuck vanished entirely. No explanation, no farewell scene, and later episodes even had Richie's parents saying they only had 2 kids. Erasing a core family member from the show's timeline sparked buzz. Fans speculated, did the actor quit, or did the writers ignore him for lack of appeal? Whatever the reason, Chuck became a TV phenomenon. Chuck Cunningham syndrome, a term for characters erased from series without mention. And while one mysterious character was erased, Fonzie, the central figure, hit a fear no one expected. 13. TV's coolest guy had an unexpected fear. Did you admire Fonzie snapping his fingers wearing his leather jacket and riding a motorcycle with epic coolness on screen? For millions of American viewers, he was the 70s cool icon. But few know Henry Winkler, who played Fonzie, had a fear that completely contradicted this. He was terrified of motorcycles. From the early episodes, Winkler barely dared to ride a real bike. The iconic scenes audiences remember were mostly staged with tricks. The motorcycle was fixed in place, the camera panned to create motion, or a stuntman was used. The one time Winkler tried riding on set, he nearly crashed and immediately refused to try again. Yet clever staging made Fonzie an immortal icon, even though Henry Winkler never truly mastered the bike. And because of that massive appeal, ABC considered changing the show's entire name, a decision that nearly shook Happy Days backstage. And as Fonzie dominated the screen, a strange guest character appeared, paving the way for one of Hollywood's biggest superstars. 14. A bizarre guest role turned Robin Williams into a superstar. The idea for the alien character Mork came from Gary Marshall's young son, a Star Wars fan who begged his dad to add an alien element to the family sitcom. Initially, the casting call went to many famous comedians, but they all declined, finding the role too odd. When Robin Williams, then an unknown street performer, walked into the audition, no one expected much. But instead of sitting in a chair like other candidates, Williams flipped upside down and sat on his head. The room went silent for a few seconds, then burst into laughter. That weirdness and spontaneity got him cast as Mork instantly. The episode with Robin Williams became a hit, prompting ABC to create the spin-off Mork and Mindy, turning him from a nobody to an international star. And he wasn't the only star to pass through Happy Days. Even Tom Hanks appeared in a role no one expected. 15. Tom Hanks appeared in Happy Days, but in a very unusual role. Before becoming a Hollywood A-lister, Tom Hanks had a small but odd role in Happy Days. In 1982, he played Dwayne Twitchell, a karate expert with a comical grudge as a kid. Fonzie pushed him off a swing. Years later, Dwayne returns determined to get revenge with martial arts. The showdown was staged dramatically, but instead of fighting back, Fonzie stayed calm, stood firm, and used his signature coolness to defuse the challenge. The challenger lost not from exhaustion, but from losing momentum. Though just a guest role, it left a mark for Tom Hanks. More importantly, this appearance caught Ron Howard's eye, who was starting his directing career, leading to Hanks' starring role in Splash. 1984, a major turning point in his illustrious career. And interestingly, it wasn't just Tom Hanks who nearly tied his fate to Fonzie. Another pop music superstar came closer than anyone to the role. 16. A famous pop star almost became Fonzie. During Happy Days casting, Mickey DeLenz, a member of the famous band The Monkees, was a top contender for Fonzie. With striking looks, stage charisma, and a big name, Mickey seemed a shoo-in for the series' cool face. But an unexpected obstacle arose. He was 6 feet tall, while Ron Howard Richie Cunningham was about 5 feet 9. The height difference worried producers that Richie, meant to be the central character, would be overshadowed by a towering Fonzie. After much deliberation, DeLenz was cut from the list. The role went to Henry Winkler, who stood at 5 feet 6. And that physical difference created the perfect Fonzie compact, but with overpowering charisma, convincing audiences that cool came from attitude, not height. What do you think if the role had gone to Mickey Dolenz, 17? The Cunningham family's famous house wasn't in Milwaukee. Happy Days is set in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but the Cunningham family home was in Los Angeles. The real address is 565 North Cahuenga Boulevard, just minutes from Hollywood. Interestingly, the house still retains much of its on-screen appearance, becoming a pilgrimage site for nostalgic fans. Many visitors stop to take photos at the door, though the surrounding neighborhood is entirely ordinary. 18. A familiar actor left the show to try his luck with 2 spin-offs. And failed. Pat Morita, who played Arnold the cheerful diner owner, was a familiar face on Happy Days. But in the late 70s, he left to pursue 2 sitcoms, Mr. T and Tina and Blansky's Beauties. Both were highly anticipated but flopped canceled after just a few episodes. Morita returned to Happy Days to warm audience reception, but his career didn't stop there. In 1984, he skyrocketed globally as Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, earning an Oscar nomination. And while Morita's career soared, Happy Days' most iconic setting was thousands of miles from Milwaukee. 19. A strange animated spin-off sent Fonzie time traveling with a robot dog. In 1980, ABC launched an animated spin-off called The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang. The premise sounds like a joke. Fonzie, Richie, and Ralph get swept into time travel adventures, joined by a girl from the future and a robot dog named Mr. Cool. The animated series ran for 2 seasons from 1980 to 1982. For older fans, it was a puzzling idea, but for kids, it was a wildly engaging, colorful show full of imagination. Today, many remember this spin-off as a bizarre twist in Happy Days' legacy proof that Fonzie's appeal was so immense it could send him through time, even into an animated universe. 20. Fonzie performed one of television's most famous stunts himself. In the controversial Jump the Shark episode, Henry Winkler actually water-skied himself, though he didn't directly jump over a shark. To reduce danger, he wore a special, lighter leather jacket than the original. That moment became one of the most remembered stunts in U.S. television history. Though many viewers found the scene absurd, Winkler was proud of performing it without fully relying on a stunt double. Happy Days isn't just a sitcom, but a cultural icon that left its mark for over half a century. Its behind-the-scenes stories and legendary characters made it an unforgettable memory for audiences. If you found these facts fascinating, hit like and share to spread them to other fans. And don't forget to subscribe to catch more exciting behind-the-scenes secrets coming up.